What's that dog you have here? He looks familiar.
Don't you remember him? It's Mart, the butcher's dog from Skalitz.
Ah, of course. When I went back to bury my parents, he was guarding his master's dead body. A faithful dog. How come he's here?
When we carted you here, we took Mutt along too. He's been hanging around the mill ever since.
How's he doing?
A lot better now. I slipped him something good now and again when Uncle wasn't looking.
He won't starve to death then. What does the miller have to say about it?
He can't stand him.
How's that?
Every time he sees him, he starts shouting that he's a useless mouth to feed and that he'll skin him.
Jesus.
And it didn't even soften his heart when Mutt brought a hare from the woods. He was happy to eat it, but it didn't change his mind.
I could have a word with him.
That would be a waste of time.
Does he obey you?
Me? Not much. He's got a mind of his own, and I'm just not strict enough.
Ah, spoilt then.
No, he just hasn't learned many commands. But he's well able to beg for a piece of meat.
How long has he been with you?
More or less since we came here. He runs off now and again, but he always comes back. Sometimes I don't see him all day. I think he likes to go wandering.
So he's doing quite well then?
Yeah. I'd keep him, but he reminds me too much of Tinker, you know? I don't want to think about Skalitz. So I thought maybe you might take him with you?
Me?
I'm sure the two of you would get on great. He's a handsome fella and lovable. I'd be very happy if you had him.
But we never had a dog at the smithy. We never needed one.
Come on. He's got no one.
I don't know.
Oh, come on.
All right. I'll take him. He can keep me company on my travels.
Thanks, Henry. Go and get him then. He's sniffing around somewhere here.
About that evening.
Ah, yes. I never thanked you properly for helping me with the laundry. That storm would have carried it off to God knows where.
Oh, I think you thanked me enough. But next time we should take shelter somewhere else. That hayseed gets into places it shouldn't and itches like mad.
Henry, you donkey. You really know how to sweet-talk a girl, don't you? And anyway, what do you mean by next time? Just what exactly do you have in mind for the two of us?
Well, we'll be together. Like a couple. And when the time comes, you'll take me as your husband, right?
You're full of yourself, aren't you? But that's not how things are done.
Well, obviously, under normal circumstances, I'd ask your pa for your hand, but...
Papa? Yes. He'd set the dogs on you. Now you'd have to get Uncle Peshek's blessing.
I reckon I'd have no better luck with him. Unless he saw a way to profit from it.
And I'd have a sack of flour for my dowry. But seriously, Henry, what kind of husband would you make? You can't sit still in one place for an hour at a time.
Well, I've got a lot of duties, but... I'm very fond of you, you know. And maybe one day...
I know, you silly sod. We can't get married yet. But we can still see each other and be fond of each other.
Wouldn't you like to take a stroll somewhere?
I'd love to.
Listen, Teresa. There's something I ought to tell you.
What is it? What's troubling you?
I'm not quite sure how to tell you, so I'll just spit it out. So Radzig Kobyla is... my father.
And King Wenceslas is my cousin. You really had me going.
No, I'm serious.
What? But, Henry, how on earth could...
I know, it was a shock for me too. It turns out Sir Radzig and my mother had some... romance. Of course, he couldn't marry a commoner.
And your father? I mean the blacksmith. God, that sounds so odd. I mean Martin.
He knew Sir Radzig from way back. Martin... Pa married her before I was born, to protect her reputation, and raise me as his own.
And Sir Radzig allowed it?
Sure. Actually, I get a feeling the whole thing was agreed between them. Sir Radzig was glad she wasn't left alone with a child.
My God, Henry, that's just... And what will that mean for you?
I honestly don't know.
You don't know?
Well, it all depends on Sir Radzig, doesn't it? As his illegitimate son, I don't have any rights as such. But it's not like I've suddenly become a noble like Capon. And even though Sir Radzig has publicly acknowledged me, well, sort of, it hasn't really changed anything.
And if Sir Radzig decided to make a real noble of you, would you want that?
I wouldn't. And it's never going to happen anyway.
Why not?
A bastard remains a bastard. Even if Sir Radzig never had another heir, all his property would go to the king by rights.
You might be right, but can't you imagine it? Would you still care for me, a common millmaid, if you were a nobleman?
There. Satisfied?
Of course. I'll always be fond of you. Nothing will change that.
Here.
I'll remember that. I hope you won't regret those words.
No fear of that.
Cheers.
Home already? See you another time then. Henry!
Wouldn't you like to take a stroll somewhere?
I'd love to. I love it here by the water. But how come you've been so quiet the whole time? What's on your mind?
You're on my mind.
Oh? In what way?
Well, you know, how pretty you look in that.
Ah, you think I look pretty, do you?
Yeah, especially when you laugh.
I was afraid you'd say especially when you've no clothes on.
Well, now that you mention it.
Come here, you charmer. I must go, Henry. Take care. Hal!
Wouldn't you like to take a stroll somewhere?
I'd love to. Henry, do you think sometimes about how it was in Scarlet?
How do you mean?
Back then, before everything. When I was taking care of the hens at the mill, taking Sammy his lunch at the mines.
It seems like a lifetime ago, doesn't it?
In the summer, I always took my shoes off and walked barefoot the whole way. And when it was really hot, I'd stop at the stream and stick my feet in the water for a while.
I had to make do with the tub in the yard when I was helping Pa in the forge. You know how hot it gets there in the summer? I always sneaked off if I could, even though I knew Pa would tan my hide when he came home.
I remember that. He was always looking for you all over the village, but you'd be hiding somewhere with Fritz and Matthew. Me and the other girls used to follow you secretly, but we never told your Pa where you were. And when he gave up looking for you, the three of you would go...
Yeah, we were playing at being knights. Jesus, I used to get black and blue from it. I can still feel some of the blows that big ox Fritz landed on me.
No more playing at nights. Now you're practically a real one.
Now I'm no knight.
You are, though, as chivalrous as they come. You saved my life.
Well, if you want to look at it that way, then you're a knight too. After all, you saved my life.
Henry, a girl can't be a knight.
But she can save lives just as well.
Oh, who wouldn't save a little lamb like you? Home already? See you another time then. I was just thinking about you.
Wouldn't you like to take a stroll somewhere?
I'd love to. Henry, let's play a game.
What game?
A guessing game. I have something with me today, and you have to guess what it is.
All right. You'll have to give me a clue, though.
Fair enough. Here's a clue for you. It's something you'd find in a tavern.
Is it wine?
Ah, sir would like some wine, would he? From a golden goblet, or will silver do? No, it's not wine, but you're close.
Is it beer?
Finally! What else would you go to a tavern for?
So it is beer. Let's be having it then.
Wait, that's not all. Since you guessed right, as a reward, you can choose. Either I'll give you the beer, or I'll reveal one piece of family wisdom our grandfather used to tell us.
Tough choice. All right, I'll take the wisdom.
Are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Really, really ready?
Don't leave me in suspense. Tell me.
Right. Listen carefully. This is the wisdom of our family, passed down from generation to generation. When someone offers you free beer, take it.
Well, that's it. All right, you got me. I admit it. Nice one.
At least next time you will be wiser. Anyway, that's all the wisdom I have for you today. It's time me and my beer headed for home. Will you accompany us?
Well, naturally, I couldn't leave such a pretty pair to go alone.
Here we are. Thanks for stopping by, Henry.
My pleasure. Hey, Mutts. Remember me? From Scalix, remember? You want to go with me? Come on then. We'll get on like a house on fire. Follow me.
Henry!
Wouldn't you like to take a stroll somewhere?
I'd love to.
That was quite a long way. So, are you going to tell me why we came here?
Here's where my brother is.
Oh, I didn't realise. Sorry.
I wanted to come back here, but I was afraid to come alone.
Very wise. It's still not safe in these parts.
Sometimes I think it was my fault. If only I'd done more for him, he might still be alive. If we'd left the mine during the night with Matthew and the others, maybe it would all have ended differently.
Maybe, but I doubt it. You said yourself that Samuel wouldn't have managed the journey. You did everything you could for him, and if you'd left during the night, you wouldn't have saved my life.
I know. It's just so hard sometimes. I know I did everything, but it wasn't enough. How could God let it happen?
I know that feeling. If I'd done things differently, maybe I could have saved my parents. But you can't let that take hold of you. You have to believe there's some sense in it all, in spite of everything.
I'm not sure I can. How can you hold on to your faith after all that, Henry? I'll never forget Samuel and Stibor and Papa, and I'll never be able to accept the injustice of it all. But I still have you.
I love you, Teresa.
I know. Thanks for walking with me, Henry. And for everything else. I couldn't manage without you. The time passes so quickly with you, Henry. Come and see me again sometime. I've got something for you. I got them from Uncle Peshek. Just don't go poking them where you shouldn't.
They're lockpicks. They're not really intended for poking in your own locks.
True, but at least don't get caught. And if you do, you didn't get them from me.
Wouldn't you like to take a stroll somewhere?
I'd love to. Henry, I don't want to complicate things, but how do you think it will be between the two of us? After all that's happened to us both, you're all I have left in my life, but you've got a lot of work for Sir Radzig and I'm afraid you'll have to leave me too.
Have no fear. I'll never leave you. Wherever my duties might take me, we'll still be together. After all, you're all that's left to me, too. And even though everything might change...
Henry, will you promise me something?
Anything.
promise me you'll take care of yourself? Even if you were to go away for a long time and meet other girls. If I were to lose you too, I don't know what I'd do.
Ah, Teresa.
Just promise me.
I promise.
Thank you. I know it's a hard thing to promise, but... You know, well, we ought to be heading back. I still have work to do. Besides, you don't want to see me crying like a baby here.
Definitely not. You'd start me off too.
Right then, let's go.
Home again. See you again sometime.
Yes, come by again. Hey there, handsome.
Wouldn't you like to take a stroll somewhere?
I'd love to.
Home again. See you again sometime.
Yes, come by again.